1 week ago, I made a video where I talked about my overall experience of owning a record player and collecting vinyl. And because of that, I think it's about that time I do an update video on my entire vinyl collection. As of right now, I roughly have about 40 records in my collection, so not big, but the reason why I don't get records that often is because I only really want to get records that I really love, or I just think it might be cool to own on record. I'll explain more as we go along, but if you enjoy videos where I talk about records, then please give the video a like, subscribe if you are new, and without further ado, let's just jump right into it. The first thing I'll talk about is these right here. I do have 3 45 singles or 7-inch, whatever you want to call them, and they're all in this nice baggie here. So quickly go through them real quick. There's not a whole lot to say about them. So this is probably my favorite of the ones I have so far. I don't really get 45s too often. Very rarely, maybe once in the blue moon. If it's a good single, then I'll probably get it. But I have this UK issue of Into Deep by Genesis, and the reason why I wanted the UK version was because on the back it has the instrumental track Do the Neurotic, which is actually a very cool instrumental. And it was around the time of Invisible Touch, if you hadn't guessed already. But yeah, it's kind of cool to have this. I'm very happy to own this. I got that up from eBay and it sounds really good. Okay, next up I have this Police single, we have Wrapped Around Your Finger. And on the B side you have a live rendition of Tea in the Sahara, which is kind of nice, like that. And the last 45 single I have right here is the Phil Collins one, and it's One More Night. And on the back, on the B side I should say, it's a kind of one of the songs that didn't make it on the album. It's The Man with the Horn, which is another pretty cool song. That's a good thing about getting 45 singles. Every once in a while the B side's one of these songs that weren't on an album, and sometimes you're like, okay, I can see why it wasn't on the album, but sometimes you're like, it would have been nice to have it on the actual record. So yeah, very cool. So again, only 3 45s, but it's a start. Alright, now let's talk about the LPs themselves, and I did put them in alphabetical order, and if it's a solo artist, then typically it's by last name. So here we go. First up, we have The Band with their self-titled sophomore release, just called The Band, or the Brown album, whatever you want to call it. And this is, as of right now, probably still my favorite album from The Band. And just so many great songs on here, and the album itself is pretty cool. If you ever get one on record, then you'll notice that the actual album sleeve has this cool texture to it. It's very, here, let me go in. Very heavy duty, I must say, but it's really cool. And you have this nice photo of the band there, and on the back you have the Capitol label right there. It's just a really great album, just Americana roots rock at its finest, in my opinion. Alright, after that, we get a Christmas album, and we have the Beach Boys. Of course, this is their Christmas album, pretty well known, and a lot of these songs you'll hear around the holidays, especially Little Saint Nick. Again, I just wanted to get it just for the heck of it, because I think it'd be kind of nice to own it on record, because it feels appropriate. So let me just quickly show what the label looked like. Again, it's on the Capitol, it's on the yellow Capitol. And I know on the band one, it's green. So very cool, very interesting, nice little variant here. So again, just want to have another Christmas album. I don't have that many Christmas albums, honestly. But you know, again, I do want to build it some more at some point. And so yeah, that's the Beach Boys Christmas album right there. Put this away, and now let's go to the next Beach Boys album I own. And that's the Beach Boys Today. Very great one. Definitely when they're really starting to, you know, Brian Wilson was really starting to take control by this point, and yeah, the music itself is really showing his ability. I mean, you have songs like, you know, Help Me Rhonda, Dance Dance Dance, When I Grow Up, I'm So Young. That's a really great deep cut. And on the back in Capitol label is on the rainbow Capitol label, which is kind of nice. Alright, now here's a pretty notable album here from a pretty well-known band. Of course, I got Abbey Road by the Beatles, just an absolute must-own in my opinion. And this is actually an original American release, like the actual thing that came out in '69. And how you tell is because of on the back, you can hopefully, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it properly, but there's no Her Majesty listed here because that was kind of a hidden track. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, and then of course you have the Apple label right there, iconic label. All right, so yeah, I think it's still my favorite Beatles album. I mean, you have like Come Together, Something, Maxwell Silver Hammer, Octopus's Garden, Here Comes the Sun. Then you have the big medley on the second side, which is very awesome. So there we go. Just had to get it. It was actually pretty affordable too. I was actually shocked wasn't it more expensive. And now we have one of my favorite albums of all time. Just a perfect example of when I get a record, it has to be an album I absolutely love, and of course I love this one. Of course, it's Kate Bush's Hounds of Love. Just adore this album. It's a perfect one. You have side 1, which has a lot of the more standalone, more conventional songs. But then you have side 2, which has the Ninth Wave, which is a cool concept piece. There's so many great different areas it goes into. I know, shout out to Nick, we did a review on this album on his channel. If I remember, I'll put a link to that in the description. But yeah, love this album, had to get it. There's the back. It's actually a Japanese pressing, by the way, so that's awesome. Even better, in my opinion. Now we have Phil Collins up next, and here I have his debut album with Face Value. Yeah, it's hard to tell. By the way, it's on the Atlantic label. It's hard to tell, but I think it's still my favorite Phil Collins album. I think it has, you have the big hits like In the Air Tonight, I Missed Again. You have some nice ballads on here. I mean, I'm a sucker for ballads, and I really do enjoy songs like If Leaving Me Is Easy. You Know What I Mean is also a really nice piano ballad. Some other pretty good deep cuts like Thunder and Lightning. Then you have his cover of Behind the Lines, which of course was Genesis originally, and I really do enjoy his version of it. I like the horns on it, personally. But yeah, it's a really strong first album, and yeah, very cool. And we have another Phil Collins album. We have No Jacket Required, which of course is his third studio album and probably his most poppy, most 80s sounding album, but that's kind of why I love it about it. It's probably maybe my second or third favorite Phil Collins solo album. It's very close. But you have Sussudio, which I love that song. Then you have Only You Know and I Know. Long, Long Way to Go, very cool atmospheric song. Then you have One More Night, which was a ballad, which I just showed the single earlier. Then you have Take Me Home. Let's see what else. What other songs? Don't Lose My Number. There's so many big hits on here, and it's a really fun album. And I showed a Christmas album not too long ago, but here's another one. And this one was actually gifted to me by Scott. I already shouted him out in my last video, but a couple of these records were gifted from him to me. So again, Scott, if you're watching, thank you very much. And he sent me this last Christmas. We have Bing Crosby, and yep, has White Christmas on it and other pretty well-known Christmas songs like Silent Night. Yeah, very nice, very cool to have. And again, on the Capitol Rainbow. No, it's actually on Decca. My bad. Sorry about that. But there you go. And now we have Deep Purple, Machine Head. Yep, one of the great hard rock albums of the 70s. I mean, it's only 7 songs, but it does not skip a beat. I mean, it has Highway Star. You have maybe I'm a Leo, Pictures of Home, which is a great deep cut. Never Before, kind of more bluesy number. Of course, Smoke on the Water, of course. Lazy, Space Truckin'. Just again, 7 tracks, but absolutely great stuff here. Very good. And it's actually a gatefold too. I actually didn't know it was a gatefold originally. So you have all these nice photos of the band. Let me just show the record off. It's on the Warner Brothers label, the Tropical. Or not tropical, but more Hollywood look. And then we have Def Leppard, Pyromania, my favorite Def Leppard album. I mean, Again, it's on the Mercury label, which is nice. Yep, you have Rock Rock Till You Drop. Then you have big hits like Photograph and great deep cuts like Stage Fright. Love Stage Fright. See Foolin', Rock of Ages, Billy Got a Gun. Yep, just see, you know, this was the album before Hysteria, and I think the reason why I love this album is because it's kind of has the perfect blend of their more hard rock, but also their more commercial sound. And of course, produced by Mutt Lange, sounds amazing. Of course, I have this classic album. We have Hotel California by the Eagles. Yep, love this one too. I mean, probably the earliest. I mean, Hotel California itself, the song, is definitely one of the earliest rock songs I recall hearing. And yeah, I just had to get this one. This is also an original, and of course has a pretty cool, unique label to it. And actually did come with the original poster, which is very awesome. I know it's here somewhere. Get this giant poster of the band here, which is, again, I don't really get the posters too often, but when I do, it's like an extra bonus. So just had to show that off. All right, and now I have Electric Light Orchestra, and we have a New World Record. Yeah, this was a pretty good one too. I mean, you have Tightrope, Telephone Line, Rockaria, Living Thing, Do Ya, Shangri-La. Very strong album. I think I still prefer Out of the Blue, which I don't own yet, but I hope to get that at some point. But showcase the back here. Side 2 has a different look to it. I think I'll show that real quick. Just their logo there, which is nice. Up next, we have probably my favorite album from this band. Of course, we have Foxtrot by Genesis. Again, I've said this many times, but I've always loved this cover. I just love the look of it, and then you have the Fox Lady on the corner there. And the gatefold, the whole gatefold looks cool too. And of course, it's on the Charisma label, the Mad Hatter. Yep, always liked the design of that label. And yeah, it's another perfect album in my opinion. You have Watch of the Sky, of course, Supper's Ready, of course, Get 'Em Out by Friday, Timetable, Can Utility in the Coastline, another standout track, and even the short acoustic instrumental by Steve Hackett, Horizons, is very nice as well. Yeah, just absolutely it was like a no-brainer. I had to get Foxtrot. And of course, I've gone from the prog Genesis, and now we have pop Genesis. I got Invisible Touch, y'all. My favorite, well, I already said that's a lie. Foxtrot's still my favorite, but probably my favorite of the 80s, honestly. Again, people like to crap on pop 80s Genesis, but I don't care. I love it. Of course, you have the title track, which is a great pop track. Tonight, 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 Land of Confusion, In Too Deep, again, sucker for ballads. Then side 2, you have Domino, Anything She Does, Throwing It All Away, and they have the very fun instrumental, The Brazilian. You know, again, if you don't like this album, fine, but it's a fun album. This next one's an interesting one. So we have Heart next, and this is Bad Animals. I think this came out in '87, I believe. And what's interesting about this one, it's actually a sealed copy. Yep, it's still sealed. And I got this for pretty cheap too. This was like $7. So yeah, it was like, hey, it's cheap, it's sealed, so you know it's brand new, so why in the heck not? So I'm kind of torn. I don't know if I want to open it or keep it sealed. In the comments below, let me know what you think I should do with it. Should I open it and just listen to it, or should I just keep it sealed like this? Again, it was cheap, so I just had to. It's kind of like I had to get it, I guess. And yeah, I've always enjoyed 80s heart. I mean, 70s heart is great, but I really will always have a soft spot for the 80s stuff because my mom liked that stuff as well. And this album has a huge hit on here with Alone, which is a great 80s power ballad. But other songs that I really enjoy is Who Will You Run To, There's the Girl, another great song sung by Nancy Wilson. I Want You So Bad, it's kind of nice. I mean, Bad Animal, pretty great. I mean, Anne's really belting it on that track. Just overall, I think it's a very, very good album. It's not a perfect album. I don't love everything on here, but still some really good standout songs. And very cool to get it sealed. Now we get probably my only double LP I have in my collection so far, and that's this one. We have Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeah, I enjoy Jesus Christ Superstar. And well, probably my favorite concept albums, really. It's on the MCA Rainbow label, which is nice. Both LPs are. And of course, this is supposed to be more the US cover. I think the UK had a different cover. But yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ Superstar, just what an epic album it is. Just a really cool interpretation of the whole Last Supper, Jesus, the crucifixion, stuff like that, Judas betraying him. It's a very cool interpretation. I think even if you're not religious, I think it's still very strong. Like, some great musicianship, and of course the performances on here is top notch. Like, you have Murray Head as Judas and Ian Gillan as Jesus. Just absolutely awesome stuff here. So good stuff. I saw this in the record store and I was like, yep, I'm getting this one. And let's keep on moving here. Another concept album, actually. We have Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick. Now, I'm not the hugest Jethro Tull fan, but I had to get this particular record because just the overall design of it alone sold me. Because of course it's notable because it's like, take it out, get a full newspaper, and you can actually read this thing too. Of course, a lot of it is a bunch of jokes, but still, the attention to detail on these is just absolutely amazing. I mean, you're not going to get this on a CD, that's for sure. But yeah, that's awesome. That's, again, like back in the day, record sleeve designers, they were definitely thinking outside the box. And the actual record is on the Reprise Records, and there you go. And now we have another one of my favorite albums of all time. We have The Stranger by Billy Joel. Yep, another perfect album. Love every song on here. It's on the Columbia label. Of course, you have Moving Out, the title track, Just the Way You Are. Love that one. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, Vienna, Only the Good Die Young, She's Always a Woman. And even the last two songs, Get It Right the First Time and Everybody Has a Dream, are really underrated songs. I think most people sleep on those ones. But yeah, I love the whole album. And we have another pretty big 80s album. We have Journey's Escape. Love Journey. Pretty cool label as well. Yeah, of course you have Don't Stop Believin', Stone in Love, Who's Crying Now, Still They Ride. Great deep cut here. Dead or Alive, Mother Father. What a great vocal performance by Steve Perry. Open Arms. Yeah, love Journey. Who knows, maybe we'll get more Journey sometime down the line. And then we have probably the first heavy metal album I have. I know it's shocking. I don't really have that much heavy metal. Actually, I think this might be my only true heavy metal album. Everything else is kind of more hard rock. So we have Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance, and it's actually a Mexican pressing. It's on the CBS label back there. And yeah, you can tell it's a Mexican pressing because, of course, you have the English side, but then on this side in white, it's in Spanish. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, this is probably my favorite Judas Priest album. Just a good blend of the more conventional commercial sounding songs like You Got Another Thing Coming, but also very heavy stuff like Electric Eye. Of course, the Hellion and Electric Eye, just a great opening track. Riding on the Wind, Take These Chains, the title track, just an absolute beast of an album, and very cool album cover too. And now we have some 60s pop. We have the Mamas and the Papas, If You Can Believe Your Eyes and Ears. One of my favorite albums of the 60s, honestly. Just a great pop album. I mean, the vocal harmonies and vocal layering on here is absolutely amazing. And of course, all the vocalists on here are very good, especially when they blend their voices. Of course, you have Mama Cass Elliot and Denny Doherty, Michelle and John Phillips. Yeah, of course, you have California Dreaming on here too. I mean, that's one of my favorite songs ever. Not being biased or anything, but still, love this album. It's on the Dunhill label. So, yeah. And speaking of Mamas and the Papas, I have another one. I have their second album, which is just the Mamas and the Papas. Yeah, they weren't really that clever with their titles, weren't they? But again, on the Dunhill label. Very strong follow-up album. Definitely my second favorite. I mean, No Salt on Your Tail, Trip, Stumble and Fall. Dancing Bear is a great deep cut, great vocal performance by Denny. I Saw Her Again, and probably my favorite deep cut on here is Even If I Could. That's a great track. So, and then we have Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, another album I had to get because I just love this cover, and this album itself I absolutely love. I love the theatricality of it, and that's something you'll always expect from Meatloaf. Always big or go home. And it's on the Epic label, Epic Records, or Cleveland, whichever. And we have Joni Mitchell, my favorite Joni Mitchell album. We have Cord and Spark. Yeah, on the Asylum label here. Yeah, it's when it comes to Joni Mitchell, this is it for me. It's a good folky, jazzy sort of album, and I love her vocals on here. I mean, you have the title track, Help Me, People's Parties, love People's Parties, Car on a Hill, Just Like This Train, Troubled Child. Yeah, absolutely adore this album, and I adore Joni Mitchell too. What's a record collection without this particular album? And that album is, of course, The Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, come on. It's The Dark Side of the Moon. It's probably the most iconic album ever. And for good reasons. I actually was pretty happy I got this. I actually got this just before it turned 50. And so, yeah, absolutely needed to have it. And it's in pretty good shape too. I mean, got the prism on the back as well. Another perfect album here. Of course, the label itself has a prism as well. Yep. I mean, I could say more, but I'm pretty sure many people have talked about this album before, so I'm just gonna go ahead and move on, but yeah, absolutely a must-have. Now we have The Police up next, and we have Ghost in the Machine. Might be a hot take, but this is actually my favorite album from The Police. I mean, it has some great tracks on here, like Spirits in the Material World, and my favorite song by them, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. I really like Invisible Sun, Demolition Man. Let's see, Too Much Information, Omega Man, Secret Journey in Darkness. There's so many great songs on here. Very underrated one, I must say. So just had to get that one, and by the way, it's on. Show you the label there. And we have probably their best-selling album. We have Synchronicity, of course, another album given to me by Scott, and very cool label as well. I know there's so many variants on this cover, but yep, it's another really great album. Aside from one track in particular, everything else is just top tier. Like, of course, Synchronicity 1 and 2, Walking in Your Footsteps, Miss Gwardenko, then you have Mother, Every Breath You Take, King of Pain, Wrap Around Your Finger, Teen of the Sahara. Yeah, great 80s album. One of the great albums of 83, really. And now we finally get to talk about my favorite band of all time yet again. Of course, Queen. I have their first, I pretty much have all their 70s albums, really. Of course, I had their debut album. Love the debut. Really strong stuff here. Has some heavy moments, but some cool, like grandiose sort of thing, like Keep Yourself Alive. Great opening song, and great song to just open a career with. Doing All Right, Breaking Rat, Liar, of course, Jesus, and back cover is pretty cool too. Has all these photos of the band, and you have a photo of Bryan with a beard, which is kind of interesting. You don't really see that very often, but very cool. It's a US release. You can tell by the Butterfly label, Elektra, to be more specific. So, yep, Queen. What can I say about them? Moving on, we have Queen 2 with my favorite album cover of all time with that iconic image of the band. Now this is a 2011 remastered version. It's not an original. So you have the white side 1, which is white, and side 2 is black. But yeah, you know, it was there. Maybe one day we'll get an original pressing, but for now, this will suffice for now. Now we have Sheer Heart Attack, which I talked about in the last video, but this was the first Queen album I got on record, and a very good price too. Sounds great. Again, an original US pressing. And we have, of course, the big one, A Night at the Opera. Probably still my favorite Queen album. I know it's kind of a cliche choice, but what can I say? Yeah, just a great, simple but elegant cover. And yet again, this is an original US pressing. Again, on the Butterfly Elektra label. And then we have A Day at the Races, their 5th album. Very great follow-up. So many great songs on here as well, like Somebody to Love, Tie Your Mother Down, Take My Breath Away, of course, A Millionaire Waltz, You and I, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, Teo Toriel Te. Great stuff again. And now this one is Elektra, but it's actually a club pressing, which, you know, I think I've read that club pressings aren't the best sounding, but yeah, this sounds fine to me. But who knows? Maybe we'll get an actual pressing. Okay, and then we have this one right here. We have News of the World. Are you all sick of that gag now? But yeah, anyhow, yep, classic cover though, and pretty cool label too. Just another logo of the band there. Very nice. Of course, you have big songs like We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, and some great deep cuts like Spread Your Wings, Who Needs You, Get Down, Make Love, It's Late. Just, yeah, another great album in their discography. And by this point, they were pretty much on top of the world. And then my final Queen album that I have, and to close out the 70s, we have Jazz. Very great, underrated album. Definitely a good way to close out the 70s. Again, the label, pretty cool design with all the bicycles around. But yeah, I mean, Bicycle Race, Fat Bottom Girls, If You Can't Beat Them, Let Me Entertain You, In Only 7 Days, great deep cut. Don't Stop Me Now, another standout track in their discography. But yeah, love this album as well. And again, we're still on the quest to get every Queen album on record, so wish me luck on that. Okay, we're getting pretty close. Next step, we have Lou Reed, Transformer, and another one of my favorite albums of all time. Again, say what you want about Lou Reed, but I've always loved his, you know, his approach. His lyrics, they're dark lyrics, but you know, they're pretty. He does not sugarcoat anything, which is what I respect a lot from him. And you know, again, he doesn't have the greatest voice, but it sounds earnest, and you know, kind of a perfect voice for the everyman. You know, not the greatest voice, but you can still get you get his points. And again, another great cool cover by Mick Rock, RCA label. Yeah, I mean, back cover's pretty interesting too. Vicious, Perfect Day, Love Perfect Day, Walk on the Wild Side was the big hit, which shocked Lou himself when he found out. Satellite of Love, we have David Bowie on backing vocals. Good Night Ladies, New York Telephone Conversation. Yeah, yes, had to get that one. That was one I wanted to get as well. All right, here's probably my most obscure one here, but we have Renaissance, Turn of the Cards, a great progressive rock album with a female lead singer. You have Annie Haslam, by the way, and on the back you have, I'm not sure what this label is. I'm not sure what Sire Records, I'm assuming, because it says so on the bottom. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, if you've not heard of Renaissance, I really recommend them. Again, great musicianship and great vocals too. I'd say if you're going to check out a song, I recommend Mother Russia, and it's the last song on here, and that's a killer, absolutely beautiful track. And yeah, love this album. Still my favorite from them. And then we have one Rolling Stones album. We have Let It Bleed, probably my second or third favorite Rolling Stones album. And yeah, it's probably the best album for them to go out in the 60s. Of course, it came out in 69. And like I said, great one to go out for that decade. You have Gimme Shelter. Come on, Gimme Shelter. Then you have Live With Me, the title track. Monkey Man. If you can't always get what you want. Or you can't always get what you want. Let me see, I'm trying to read the back, but let's see. Midnight Ramblers, cool track as well. Yep, awesome album. Good blend of rock, country, blues, blue. It's on the Blue Symphonic label, London. Then we have Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water, my favorite of them. Yep, you have the title track, which is absolutely stellar. El Condor Pasa, Cecilia, Keep the Customer Satisfied, The Boxer. I know there's some other songs I'm forgetting right now. Baby Driver, The Only Living Boy in New York. Yep, yeah, absolutely great album for them to go out with. Of course, 1970, Columbia label. And we have my favorite Steely Dan album up next. We have The Royal Scam, again, gifted to me from Scott. Love the cover too, love the darkness of it, and yeah, very cool. And I mean, the title track just sums up this cover in general, really. But yeah, MCA right here. Yeah, another perfect album. This one I'd probably give a 10. I might give this a 10 out of 10, really. Kid Charlemagne, Caves of Altamira. Don't Take Me Alive, The Fez, love The Fez. Let's see, Good Green Earrings, the title track I kind of mentioned already, but yeah, absolutely love every song on here. Then we have Styx up next. Love some Styx. Of course, we have The Grand Illusion, my favorite of them. A&M right there on the back. I'll talk more on what I'm thinking in a sec, but yeah, love this album. Probably another perfect album. Grand Illusion, Fooling Yourself, Superstars, of course. Come Sail Away. Don't know why it blinked there for a sec, but other great songs like Miss America, Man of the Wilderness, Castle Walls. Love Castle Walls, and it closes out brilliantly with the grand finale. And then we have another Styx album. We have the follow-up, Pieces of 8. Another great one, probably my second favorite Styx album. And again, on the A&M label. And yeah, you have other songs like Great White Hope, I'm Okay, Sing for the Day. Another great deep cut here is Queen of Spades. Love Queen of Spades. And what's interesting, now it did come with a poster. Let me get that out real quick. But what's interesting is that this is actually the poster for The Grand Illusion, from what I gathered. So again, cool, I got the poster. But I should really put this with The Grand Illusion. Really, I don't know why I still have it with the Pieces of 8. But still, awesome poster. I do plan to hang these at some point, but we'll see. That's someday. Still in the S's here. And we have two really great albums from this band. We have Supertramp, and we have Crime of the Century, an original pressing. Sounds amazing, by the way. Again, it's 1974. This thing's 50 years old, but still sounds amazing. All right, and then we have, is it 50? Yeah, it's 50. Yeah, I think it's 50. just want to make sure in my head. But yeah, I mean, another great album. Probably my second favorite of them. Personally, I know some people put this in number 1, but it's very close. But yeah, A&M once again. But of course, I do need to talk about my favorite Supertramp album, and that's this one right here, Breakfast in America. Perfect album. Love every song. Again, it's very commercial sounding, but still has that sort of quirk that Supertramp has always had. And of course, classic cover, and the label itself is really cool too. And we have another hard rock album here. We have Slide It In by Whitesnake. Pretty wild cover, I must say. Now, again, this album and the follow-up album, which is the '87 album, those two always go back and forth on which one's my favorite Whitesnake album. I mean, this album is still top-notch. It's on the Geffen label. I mean, you have the title track, Slow and Easy, Love Ain't No Stranger, on the Gambler. Then you have other tracks like Guilty of Love, Give Me More Time, Standing in the Shadow, and so much more. And even the lineup of this band, of course, David Coverdale on vocals, John Lord of Deep Purple on keyboards, Mel Galley and on guitars, and John Sykes. Of course, in the UK, I think John Sykes wasn't in the band yet, but in the US, by this point, he was in the band. Neil Murray on bass and Cozy Powell on drums. Just a killer lineup there. So, absolutely enjoy that album too. Do want to get the '87 album at some point. And then we have the record that started it all, again, thanks to Scott. We have Who's Next by The Who. Of course, a MCA label. Don't think it's an actual original pressing, but still close enough. Yeah, I mean, my favorite Who album, to me, it's one of the great rock albums ever. I mean, Scott Who Won't Get Fooled Again. To me, that song is like the definition of rock. But everything else on here is absolutely stellar too. I mean, of course, Baba O'Reilly, that goes without saying. The song is over, great deep cuts, Bargain, My Wife, Behind Blue Eyes, and so much more. And we have an interesting one right here. We have a compilation. We have Meaty Beaty Big and Bouncy, which is again a compilation MCA label right there. And you know, it's kind of like just has some big songs on here like Can't Explain, Kids Are Alright, Happy Jack, I Can See From Miles, Picture of Lily, My Generation, The Seeker, Anyway, Anyhow, Anywhere, Pinball Wizard, A Legal Matter, Boris the Spider, The Magic Bus, Substitute, and I'm a Boy. Now I think if I remember correctly, I know Scott sent me this as well, but I think he originally wanted me to have a CD copy, but I got a vinyl one instead, which, hey, I'm not complaining, but still pretty cool. And a cool cover too. Of course, you have these kids here, and then you have, I guess these kids are supposed to be the band, supposed to represent the band, and then you have the actual band looking out the window. And on the back cover, they swap places. Very nice. And now we're at the final two records here, and we have Yes. We have Close to the Edge. Love this one, probably my second favorite of theirs. 3 tracks, but absolutely all killer, no filler here. It's on the Atlantic label. Yeah, I mean, it's considered one of the great prog albums ever, and yeah, had to get this one. But of course, my absolute favorite Yes album is this one right here, and I showed this before. We have Relayer by, of course, Yes Again. And again, I talked about this in the last video, and I said this many times, but I love the cover, love the whiteness of it, and yeah, and the label itself is pretty cool too. Pretty much like, it's kind of its own unique thing. Still on Atlantic, but they kind of did something different. You have the snake there, pretty cool. Again, similar to Close to the Edge, 3 tracks, but man, I love every minute of it. Of course, Gates Delirium. Then you have the side 2, which has Sound Tracer and To Be Over. I love To Be Over. That's a pretty underrated song, I think. But that's just my opinion. And there you have it. That is every record I have as of right now. It's July 2024. So in the comments below, let me know, out of all these records, which were highlights for you. I look forward to reading the comments, and who knows, maybe sometime down the line, maybe in another year or 6 months, or depending on how I feel, we'll probably do another one of these like collection videos here. But again, hopefully you enjoyed this one. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye for now.